Here.
Ginger Byer, Heather Barkholtz,
Here.
Mary Bell,
Here.
Mark Chin, Sandy Patelli,
Here.
Teresa Stevens,
Here.
Rohith Vaija,
Here.
Ken Wenzel.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the March 11th minutes. Anyone have any changes, additions, deletions?
No.
Oh, now there's two Swethas. Oh,
Oh yeah, there is.
okay, there can't be two Swethas. We just can't do that.
Hi.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
If I could just interrupt, I'm sorry, my computer just kept freezing on me. But now it seems to be working, so I'm going to go off my phone. But now
Oh,
it seems
okay.
to be working.
That's how we had two of you. Okay. The city budget reports, Sarah?
So the budget reports are in the packet. We did this month through the city budget do the payment for year 2 of the executive director, which was $12,500. Other than that, there was nothing really unusual out of the city budget. Yeah. But then for the payment of the bills out of the library board account, it was $2,035.07.
Yes. Teresa?
Question about the executive director position. That's for the foundation, correct?
Correct.
And then the 12,000 is for the part-time, not transitioning to the full-time yet, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
We have a memorandum of understanding between the library board, the Friends, and the foundation that set up a system of contributions from each group. And the library boards diminishes each year of a 3-year contract.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, motion to accept the budget reports.
So move.
Seconded.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right. Citizen appearances, I don't.
Oh,
believe-
sorry to interrupt. We just need a motion for the payment of the bills too.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. That's the 2,000, right?
Yep, yeah.
Okay,
I'll move to approve.
Seconded.
thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, citizen appearances, I don't believe we have any. Business of the board president. I actually do have one thing. That's because Swetha is too shy to share with us herself. But there are awards from the Media Center, the Midwest awards every year. And Swetha won Best in Show, Best Cultural Ethnic Program for her podcast, Books and Cooks, Book Talks and Tastings. Congratulations. That's
I
quite
was
an
excited to see that in the notes. That's so cool.
I don't know that I have a wide audience. You and I, it was nice to be recognized.
Or you have an audience. You do. Actually, I think it's wider than you think.
My husband, my appreciative audience, I guess.
Right. Which segues perfectly into the library director's report. Or did I get that? That's right. Yep.
So I don't have too much to report today, but it is National Library Week. So happy National Library Week to all of you, and thank you for advocating for the library. In honor of National Library Week, some of you may have seen the press release in the Sun Prairie Star that came out. It was a great article, and thanks to Sarah for pulling all of those pieces together to celebrate the library. The mayor had read the proclamation back in March, since there wasn't a city council meeting this week because of Election Day. And I hope everyone has a chance to read the Sun Prairie Star either in print or digitally on Tuesday. It's their signature page paper, and it's going to be pages of pages where we will be celebrating the unsung heroes of the library this year, our library pages. So we're really excited about that, and I think you'll be really impressed with who our pages are as individuals. And we've been working internally on reopening plans, which you'll see later tonight. And the walk-up window is complete. So people can now use the walk-up window to access their holds. And just very quickly, an update on the HVAC. No work has yet been done, but what will be done will be improving the airflow. Right now, the filters are at their maximum capacity for our building. So that's good. It's not the highest recommended level, but it's all that we can handle. And then the rooftop units will have ionization units installed. There's still a possibility that these improvements can be funded with the relief money coming from the federal government, but it is not yet. It isn't a for sure thing. So if it isn't, then the improvements will come out of our operational budget.
Good. Any questions, Swetha? Okay, thank you. Moving on to committee reports. The Facilities Committee has not met. Finance Committee has not met. The Personnel Committee has not met. The Policy Committee has met and will be considering policies under new business of the agenda. Strategic Planning, the committee has not met, but will be considering some committees, some reporting, part of the new part of the, get it out, Rex. A part of new business on our agenda.
And Rex, I'm sorry to interrupt. We do have a verbal report that we wanted to.
Oh, all right. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We usually do that in March, actually, give an update as to where we are with things. Heather, would you like me to take this, or would you like to?
Sure, yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, yeah. So as we're all aware, we changed some of our priorities with our strategic plan, or maybe not changed, but refocused might be a better term. So we still were looking at those 5 initiatives within the strategic plan: facility and spaces, funding and staffing, access, partnership, marketing, and communications, but focused on a safe reopening and continuity of services to those most impacted, and racial literacy, and put all of those priorities within those 5 initiatives, if that makes sense. So for example, with facilities and spaces, adding the drive-up window to enhance the contactless services, adding more return bins to accommodate more returns and quarantine practices. So everything, all of those 5 initiatives were looked at through the lenses of the priorities that we assigned. And I think we did a really great job in doing that. And I'm happy to go through the whole list with you if you want, just verbally. So as I said, in facilities and spaces, the drive-up window, the additional return bins, working with public health to gather information on materials handling, HVAC improvements in process, and we're currently looking at our discussion rooms. Then with funding and staffing, working with staff to give them the best information on vaccination and other protective equipment, providing funds for working from home, as well as continuing education opportunities, particularly as it relates to racial literacy, equity, access, creative programming. And then in terms of access, we added express technology to meet the needs of those without broadband access. And then the Dream Bus service, we were able to continue to maintain outreach to our residents that find transportation to be a barrier in terms of getting to the library. And we still were able to provide the critical service of getting out tax forms and booklets to our patrons. Partnerships, we continue to meet with our established partnerships, but we were very happy to establish new partnerships, in particular, Tenant Resource Center and coming soon, Project Recovery. And then marketing and communications, using the same tools that we have, our social media. We enhanced our social media presence this year with Instagram. And we added our monthly e-newsletter. Sarah took on that initiative. And using those communication sources to share with our community what we are still able to provide, even through the pandemic. And Heather and I did meet with Melissa McLellan from Wills, and we'll be going through the proposal later on in the agenda.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Next, friends, we have both Ken and Cindy here.
So you want me to talk about just a few things? Okay.
Sure.
We are going forward with our diversity, equity, and inclusion work. Of course, it's not going as fast as I think it should, but it's going at the pace that it should go at. We have a couple of student interns that are already interested for when we can have them in November for our junior directors. I'm working with Nancy Everson, and then it's kind of getting to be word of mouth a little bit too. There was something you mentioned, Swetha, that I wanted to say, but I don't remember what it was. So I guess it wasn't earth-shattering at this moment.
Maybe information about the bookstore?
Well, we have a committee that's working on how to approach reopening. And I know that Anne and possibly, I don't know, somebody from the library staff are working on getting the library bookstore back to what it looked like before curbside was working in there. And so we have to move things around, and we've got this committee that's going to help with any of the logistics of trying to get our volunteers reoriented. And one of the things that we did have happen is our cash register went down. So we're in the process of getting a new cash register. So stuff like that. Just we're in process of figuring out what all has to be done and then doing it.
Cindy, I wonder if you were thinking of talking about National Library Week and what the Friends Board did.
What did we do? So for National Library Week, each year we try to thank the library staff in just some small way. And we again got them beans and creams gift cards. And I've heard from so many of you that you appreciate them, and not as much as we appreciate you. So, yeah. And normally we'd be doing a membership drive during this week, but of course that didn't seem feasible at all. So we'll get back to it.
Did the board vacancies get filled?
We still have one vacancy, and it's the one that we added as the 13th that we never filled.
Okay.
And so we're working on, it's all part of what we're working on for diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And we want to make sure our board represents what our community looks like and sounds like and thinks like. So we're working on it. Yeah, we have one yet to fill. Monica Hetzler filled one position. Kenny Kim filled another position. And then we've got, I'm sorry? And then we've got Ann Semen taking over Star Suffeld's that her directorship ends in November, so she'll have to go up for reelection if she needs to, if she wants to. That's all I've got, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Cindy? Okay, the foundation, in honor of National Library Month, the National Week, whatever it is, the foundation is having its first ever spring fundraising drive. And I hope that by now each of you have either received an email or a hard copy letter that explains the drive. And we're looking to fund the study rooms and update the furniture and the technology so that they can be used a little bit differently than they currently are. Whoa, what happened?
So it says screen sharing. Rex, I didn't see anything.
This-
Oh, I see, okay.
This is just to,
You scared
go
me,
what,
Samantha.
what Rex is sharing with you. So
Okay, that's the room. That's how they look now.
if you
How
click,
much different will they look, Swetha? in the future?
well, we don't really have renderings. We were hoping to get
Oh.
renderings, but for a small project like this, the cost was more than what it would cost to redo the rooms, really. But they will just be much more contemporary. There will be a monitor, computer with a webcam, and updated furniture to accommodate the teleconferencing and the workforce development work. So if you have an opportunity, if you go on our website, you'll find this slide carousel with information on the spring appeal, or you can click on this big heart button here. And if you click on that, it will bring you to the spring appeal page. And Allison Long, the foundation's executive director, has really crafted beautifully what impact this can have for our residents. So stop my share now.
Do they have
I
an
love
estimate?
that button. That's the button you wanted, Teresa.
Yes.
Okay. Do
I
they
did
have an
see the button
estimate?
added to the main page too. That's great.
It is.
Do they have an
Yep.
estimate what it's gonna cost to redo that room?
The spring appeal goal is $10,000, and that would cover
Okay.
it.
Right. I got my letter today, so.
Wonderful.
Good.
And Shweta, why only one room? Are there other rooms are fine, or
There's
is
two
this
rooms.
the okay?
There's two discussion rooms, and the
Okay,
goal is to make the updates to both of them.
both of them. Okay, fine.
Any questions? All right, moving on to unfinished business. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on inclusive services work session. Swetha, could you bring up on the screen the sheet with the columns?
Sure. Might take me just a second, though.
Okay. So if you recall at the last meeting, we did have the presentation on staff from South Central on that. And after the meeting, we thought that we needed to have some more focus on this particular project. So what they did for us, and it is in your packet, is there's a chart now that takes, let me grab mine, the questions for the survey and puts them in several categories. Sorry about that. Board composition, policies and bylaws, director hiring, director evaluation, the budget, and planning and facilities and strategic planning. So And just as a suggestion for us, a way for us to proceed, personally, I like that the questions are now broken down into categories that all fit together versus just trying to address the categories in any sort of a random way. And my suggestion is to ask.
I'm sorry, Rick, to interrupt. Can everyone see my screen?
No, we see it, but it
We
looks like.
see a list, but not the thing, the document.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, let me try that again.
Maybe I'll wait until you get that.
There it is.
There we go, there it is.
Okay.
So my suggestion is to ask the board tonight to actually rank order these categories so that we have some sense of priority that the board has consensus on. And then offline, ask each of you to grade us in 2 of the categories that rank first and second, just as a way to proceed. And then at our next meeting, we would look at the results of that, and we can get assistance from the South Central staff in actually taking the results of it and taking the data and putting it in a presentable form that we can use to help make some decisions. So that's my suggestion to the board. And I'm open to any way of dealing with this.
So Rex, what I'm hearing is you want this to be prioritized by whatever we feel. So if one is one and 26 could be second and whatever it is that correct?
I think
Each
actually,
category.
yeah,
Okay.
so maybe if I can, is it okay if I jump in here?
Yes, of course.
So what we see are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 columns. And the suggestion was to rank these from 1 to 7. Not
Okay.
that number 7 is not important, but maybe what our priorities are
Oh, got it.
for now in this time, 2021 going into 2022, what our priorities are. And then because 26 questions is a lot to tackle, it seems like, oh, we just answer yes, no, or NA, but it actually gets pretty deep into it, as we saw from last month's exercise. So what this will do, we'll be able to focus on 1 or 2 themes and looking at the questions within the 1 or 2 themes. What South Central can do, as Rex said, is do 2 surveys. They can do a survey so that offline to prioritize these, or as Rex had suggested, we can do the ranking and prioritization together now, but you can still do that offline, and South Central said they'd be able to synthesize that. Then based on which 2 themes come out at the top, let's say, just for argument's sake, board composition and budget are the top 2. Then the questions, then South Central consultants will just survey on those questions, 1, 2, 3, 12, 23, and 24. And then we'll synthesize, and that will be where they will start with their discussions with the board the next
Okay.
time they're here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So will they be, once this is prioritized, will they provide additional information? The reason I'm asking is, like, for example, if as a group we pick budget, right?
Mhm.
And if it is asking are salaries equitable for the staff, but I don't have a clue if there is or not. So where there be some additional data for us to review to say yes, it is or it isn't.
And you may answer NA, I don't know, but this is something that we should look into, and then how can we look into it would be the
Okay.
next. Yeah, because I would assume there will be some questions that will be, I don't know. It may not be a yes or a no.
Okay.
There should be an answer that says need more information.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you that the city of Sun Prairie is lucky. We have an HR department that does this kind of work and research regularly. So we are definitely ahead of the game in terms of what is happening at other municipalities.
I have a question regarding the timeline for the process of these inclusive services governance topics. Do we have like a time frame that we're shooting for?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we have a time frame. I don't know. And I don't know if that will be the recommendation. I think what we're learning in this work, in DEI work, is it's a commitment for an ongoing commitment. I don't think there's ever like a start or a stop to the work in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it might just be that our priorities will shift depending on our environment.
Although recall, we have changed our bylaws and created a standing committee. And that means we have made a commitment to this process. So in the broadest picture, it's certainly something that needs to be addressed and completed this year in terms of getting this work done and finding people to be on the committee and get them started on their process. So as a broad sweep for a time frame.
Yeah, sorry. I guess what I was saying is the DEI work will be continuous, just like reviewing of policies is continuous. It'll just be a constant cycle, I think, of reviewing our inclusive services practices.
That's true.
I would agree with the fact that it's ongoing, but there are, as I look at the 7 columns that we have in front of us, I mean, the evaluation is going to be set again in July. We're going to have a meeting so that the personnel committee will discuss evaluation. So there are 2 questions that are relatively easy to answer. Do we prioritize to take them off the list so that things that take more discussion have the time and the focus to do that? Or because there are 2 questions that really are relatively simple to answer, we leave those, and that's my confusion with how to address this.
Yeah, those are, it's funny, I was thinking about that too, particularly the director evaluation.
Director evaluation, budget. I mean, there are some that we are already in process of that they have their own timelines.
Right,
Mhm.
and they're not necessarily something that advisory committee would need to address. So there may be some columns that we can say, maybe we don't even need to rank these. They're already in the work that we do. So maybe that can be part of the survey that goes out when we're prioritizing. Or we could remove them now and ask for the and just prioritize what remains.
I'm wondering, even before we do that, I'd like to get a sense from the board of, do you want to do that type of work right now during this meeting? Or would you prefer to do it offline? We could have this sent to you and you could respond and we would just give it to South Central and then they would give us the 2 areas that we would review, again, offline to review next month.
Actually, and Rex, they can do this part of the survey too, so it wouldn't, in terms of ranking.
Right, no, I know. That's why I'm asking the board how they wanna proceed.
If it is not going to take too much time, we can do that right now. I mean, there are like 7 classification, and if everybody is aligned to understanding what it is, and if it is not going to take too much time, then we can do it today itself.
I don't think it would take too much time. I think they're relatively clear, but I don't want to be presumptive. Let's put it this way then. Would anyone be very opposed if we just go ahead and we don't have to go through a whole rank order? We can just choose the two tonight that we would like to proceed with. What if we do it that way? Okay, Mary's got thumbs up.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay. All right. Not hearing any huge objection. Why don't we just try that? Who would like to propose the two that we address? Throw something on the table for us.
I would propose that we consider board composition and planning as the two.
Okay.
Heather, I was thinking of the same too.
Woo!
See, we're building consensus moment by moment.
I was doing board composition and policies and bylaws.
Okay. Anyone else?
Policies and planning.
Okay. Teresa, did you weigh in? I can't tell.
I haven't. There's so many good ones. I'm having a hard time narrowing them down. All of them.
Well, so far, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think almost everyone has mentioned board composition as one of them. Is that correct?
Well, I've been tracking, and we have 3 for board composition, 3 planning, and 3 for policies and bylaws. So it's kind of a 3-way.
Thank you for keeping track.
So instead of 2, make it 3 topics. How's that sound?
Yeah.
You know, we could do that.
Yeah.
We could start there and then from there decide which questions to tackle. I can certainly propose that. I mean, Sean and Mark from South Central are very willing to work with what the board's goals are.
Well, yeah, and there really are only 3 other columns because director hiring takes 2 columns to put all this stuff into.
Exactly.
So when we get to them, we can do 3 now and then 3 the next set. And that would work
Right.
great.
Wonderful.
Okay, great. We have a process developed. Thank you very much. That's
I'm
good
going to
work.
stop sharing the screen.
Pardon me?
I'll stop sharing the screen now.
Oh, okay. All right. The next unfinished business item is consideration, discussion, and possible action on the library board calendar.
Yeah, this was at last month's meeting, and I think we put this on here, and perhaps that we may end up just coming back to this again. I think that was when we were thinking we would solidify the dates for the DEI committee meetings, but we're really not at that point right now. But I also wonder if it's time to take a look at some of the other committee meetings. Mark, I'm thinking next month on the calendar, we have a finance committee meeting, and I'm not sure if you feel that we need that meeting now.
Well, we're talking about it shouldn't take much time, but we were talking about like a semi-annual, like a mid-year. in a year-end review, right? But
Mhm.
other than that, yeah.
Do you think that, and I guess this would be up to the board, would it make more sense then for the finance committee, instead of having a separate meeting, to just have a report at the library board meeting?
We could do it that way. Yeah.
I like that idea.
Because we also have strategic planning committee then.
Yeah. I haven't had,
Mhm.
to be upfront, I haven't had a lot of feedback from the foundation. I've been reaching out to request any needs updates or anything that the foundation requires regarding like the kind fund and so forth. So nothing has come from that yet, and I don't know if there's any needs on their end. So with that, Mark.
Yeah, I think
Great.
it's fairly quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why I thought, I don't know if we can, if it makes sense to avoid an extra meeting.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Is there anything else in the meeting? We're going to be meeting, the Strategic Planning Committee is meeting in April, May, and June. And then we'll be presenting in June as well to the library board. So I think that's something that needs to be added in June as a Strategic Planning Committee meeting.
I don't remember, why did we have the facility committee only meeting in October?
I have them meeting in June as
June.
well.
Okay. Oh, I didn't see June.
And that may change.
I'm anticipating with the schematic design that they would be meeting more frequently, but
I think we might want to wait and see what the, once we actually have a contract in place, how that might
okay.
change.
Does anything stick out to anyone that either it doesn't belong there or needs to be moved to a different time period?
We need a motion to approve, Rex?
Yes.
I would move with the one change of the finance committee in May, not meeting.
Support.
And I also maybe move to include adding a strategic planning meeting in June in addition to the report.
Oh,
Okay.
So there'd be two changes, Mary's and then
okay. I can, yeah, in addition to the meeting in May, another one in June.
for strategic planning.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so finance
Obviously,
in
I
May.
said that in my motion. I would include that.
Thanks.
It's a friendly amendment.
There are no such things in Robert's rules.
Is that right?
There are amendments, but they are not.
But they're not friendly. Okay, I stand corrected. Any other changes or deletions to the calendar? Did we have a second? I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
must have-
Ken.
Okay, thank you, Ken. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, good, thank you. Right. Moving on to new business. The first item is consideration, discussion, and possible action on the reopening plan. Now we're excited.
Very exciting, me too. So I have in your packet, it's a broad overview of the library's reopening plan. I had a, and I'm calling it a phase 2 of our reopening plan because the library has been open and physically open since June 15th with Express Technology. So just wanted to clarify that, but the phase 2 of our reopening plan would allow for more hours and more services on site. So the proposal would be Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday 9 to 1, and Sunday 1 to 5. So in addition to what we're currently offering, we'd have more technology stations for everyone. We would have browsing available, self-checkout, and self-service hold. We would still offer drive-up window, realizing that there may be people that may not be comfortable yet to enter. We won't have in-person indoor programming, but we may be considering outdoor programming. And that's kind of a broad overview. And there will be some services by appointment to help with workforce development, teleconferencing, and one-on-one appointments with counselors from our service agency partners. And that would be where the discussion rooms would fall in. A couple of weeks ago, I was thinking May 17th. I've moved that time up. I know it's not much, but I've moved it up by 1 week, knowing that by May 7th, staff that were eligible to receive the vaccine because they met certain health criteria will have had the opportunity to receive their second vaccine and will have had that 2 weeks after for the protection from the vaccine, making May 10th a time that would be safe for staff with those underlying conditions. Staff that do not have underlying conditions this week have been eligible to begin receiving vaccines, and that vaccine rollout has been pretty robust. So it's been fairly easy for people to secure appointments to at least get their first vaccine prior to May 10th. So I feel pretty confident with that. Other libraries in the area are doing, it's pretty different because every library and every community is different and have different facility configurations. Madison will be looking at reopening later in May. I think right now it's tentatively at the end of May. Verona is opening limited starting in April. So a limited reopening with a more robust one maybe next month, similar to what we've proposed here. Wanakee and DeForest have been open. Middleton is looking at opening where they would be open for 3 days and then curbside for 3 days. Kind of an express model. Fitchburg is looking at something similar. Stoughton is looking at mid-May. Nothing has been announced yet. McFarland is considering a soft opening, maybe at the end of April. And Monona is also going to be opening later in April. So it's a mix match. Our library is configured to kind of be an all or none. We can't just limit to one side of the library. So that's why when we open, all browsing will be available. The only thing that we won't be allowing people to browse is the newspapers, just because those aren't really conducive to a short stay. And we want to encourage quick browsing, quick checkout still. So
May 10th is the date then?
that's the proposed date.
Okay.
Teresa?
Are you limiting the number of people in at a time for browsing, or is it wide?
We're going with the new order from Dane County, which is quite high for indoor capacity, and we don't really, looking at our visitor count during normal times, or I should say pre-pandemic times, we don't reach that level. The only times we possibly do is when we have like a big children and family event, and we won't be having those. So we won't really have to enforce that. I think we're planning to have greeters at the front door. So we'll take an informal kind of count and if it feels like it's getting really crowded, we may need to look at that, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be an issue.
And has there been talks about the summer reading program and how to sign up?
Yeah,
That's
that will still
high
be,
volume time is when parents are coming in to sign kids up for that.
yeah, the program will still be virtual. So I don't know if we'll have in-person sign up for the summer library program.
Okay.
I did learn yesterday that negotiations are underway for another round of shots for librarians with SSM. So hopefully by the end of this week or early next week, there'll be an announcement on that too, now that everyone is eligible.
Yeah, and it has been fairly easy for most people to find places anyway. So I think we'll be in pretty good shape there. But Teresa, I will check on the SLP registration if we'll be doing, and if, because that's a good point. We don't want a big lineup of people, but we might even encourage people if they want to do that. We'll have our walk-up window in the youth services side. Maybe that might be a place where if they wanted to do an in-person registration, they could do it that
I
way.
was thinking a little bit about that equity piece for those who don't have a computer or weren't access it last year, either through ability or for devices, that they still might prefer that in person, but
Yeah.
think of how to push those who did it online last year to stay online and those who didn't have that access to be able to still participate.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, the window that we installed in the children's area for the SLP services may be a good use of that space. So I'll check with staff on that.
Okay.
Just
Shweta, is the-
go ahead,
good.
Rohit.
Okay, so Shweta, is the plan for, based on whoever gets the vaccinated first time, second time, to have everyone coming in, or you have looked into that where some areas might be better to have it work from home still?
So we will probably have most everyone on site for most of their hours.
Okay.
The city has a work from home in place until June 1st.
Okay.
And after June 1st, it will no longer be a work from home.
Okay.
But there may be some people that may have the capacity to work from home. So there may still be that ability, but that's something that we had even before.
Okay.
There were times where someone might do some work from home, and now
Okay.
that we have the technology to support that. But I think we're going to have our staff on site. I think we're going to be really busy.
Okay. Thank you.
So what will trigger returning to regular hours or hours pre-COVID?
I think what's going to trigger that is when the public health is improved, because we still anticipate that there will still be a lot of use of curbside, and there's a lot of behind the scenes prep to, or I should say drive up, to get that in place for our patrons. There will still be many people using the librarian's choice. And while we know that the occupancy limit is going to be something that we can accommodate, we probably don't want to build up the capacity with staff and patrons all together in the stacks. So those after hours times will be used by staff to get the stacks in good order, get books back on the shelves, do the shelf reading, and get displays back up for people. So
Will
I feel like
we be
if
allowed back in?
I'm sorry, what's that?
Will volunteers be allowed back in, like?
We're
Worked on.
We're looking at that. We have some volunteers that are back in, but those are mostly the bookstore volunteers, the very, very limited right now. So we want to phase all of that in, taking public health into consideration. I will say our hours are quite generous. No other libraries have any Sunday hours. Most libraries are open just for a few hours on that Monday to Friday. So I feel really good about what we're offering to our patrons. And it makes sense to have these as our hours for the summer, knowing that summer evenings and summer weekends tend to be not as busy as the rest of the year.
It's also nice and simple and straightforward. What
Yeah.
Middleton's doing makes no sense whatsoever, but anyway, I probably shouldn't have said that. Any other questions about the reopening plan?
Well, I think the other part about the number of hours that we're opening is that it also gives us more time to sort of spread out the people that come. I mean, what we found when we first opened the book drops was that everybody returned them right away. When we announced that we're open, everybody is going to want to come in. If we have wider hours, we'll be able to, I think, keep that down.
Yeah, it won't be such a concentrated time.
I have to go like right now because they're only open for 2 hours.
Well, that's exactly right.
I agree.
I think that first day they'll look out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a little guy that's been begging to check on the fish, so
Did you
he'll
see
be
that?
happy.
They did a Facebook post of the aquarium.
We've watched it multiple times. Yeah.
All right, very good. So who would like to move to approve the reopening plan?
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion?
We just need to confirm the date because the plan right now has May 10th or May 17th.
I would do the 10th.
Okay.
17th is tax day.
Oh, it is. The new one, that's right. So with May 10th being the reopening date then, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? I didn't think so. All right, thank you. Good
Thank
discussion.
you. Yeah, and I will say, I do want to say, this is, so with this in place, we'll have an all-staff meeting on April 21st to go over all of this, and the Wanakee Public Library will be able to meet with staff to share their experience. We're going to be closed May 6th and May 7th in preparation for the May 10th reopening. May 6th, we'll have an active threat training with the Sun Prairie Police Department, and then we'll be getting the facility ready. We will open up the window on Saturday and Sunday for people to be able to pick up their holds, and then we'll be really open on May 10th.
Good. All right, next new business item, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the strategic planning meeting facilitation proposal, which we have in our packet.
If the proposal meets the library board's approval, I will be able to sign this and get this back to Wills. The proposal includes the development of a questionnaire and analysis for internal for our strategic planning process, and meeting facilitation and documentation.
So go ahead.
I was just going to jump in and provide a little context or background if anyone was interested on why we were asking for the facilitation. So since a lot of what the next year will hold and that we're trying to plan for is that we'll go into a reopening and a return to a normal or a new normal. So we wanted to dig a little deeper for this next planning session. So we're not going to restructure or redo the plan, but we wanted to make sure that a lot of people's voices were heard. So with a particular focus on the board and the team that, carries out the day-to-day activities of the library so that they could all express themselves and what their needs are and what they think we should be focusing on as we move towards this reopening or continuation of opening, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you, Heather. Yes, with the idea that the re-entry and recovery is real for staff as well as our patrons. And this would be an opportunity for everyone on the Sun Prairie Public Library staff to share how they feel and maybe even share how they think the community may feel
Right.
about our reopening.
So that we're really considering a lot of perspectives on how people feel safe and included and welcome in the space as we move forward. That's all. Thank you.
And this documentation, will that be shared with the board or will that be put on the library website? How's that?
Both. April, May, and June are our committee meetings with Wills. And then in June, there will be a formal written report to the board.
Okay.
After that is approved, then we would put it on the website.
Okay.
Right. We just wanted to take a little more time to do some data collection before we generated a report and recommendations.
Good work. Now, Mary, did you make the motion to approve already?
I did. I always do motions before discussions. I'm sorry I jumped ahead of where.
No, you're fine. The motion's made, the motion's on the floor, but it does need a second.
I
I'll
second it.
second.
Any further discussion on this? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, thank you. Next item, consideration, discussion, and possible action on the budget amendment for schematic design service.
And Rex, if I can interrupt you here, this will probably save us time. I did learn from city staff, from Aaron Oppenheimer, who consulted with Connie DeKemper, that a resolution is not necessary for us. So we
I
can,
found that out too.
yeah, so we can probably skip that step.
Yeah,
but,
That's not needed anymore.
we
Yeah.
will need to have a, the recommendation will be that after a firm is chosen for the schematic design based on the cost, then it will come to the library board, and then the changes to the budget, the transfer basically can happen.
Right.
after that. So.
Right. It'd be automatic. All right. Consideration, discussion, and action on the foundation wish list funding, and we have a letter on that. Want to review that with us, Swetha?
Sure. So the letter is pretty simple. I think because our focus really is going to be on the expansion and the capital campaign, my draft letter is for, instead of the library receiving the rest of the distribution, we used $4,800 to fund the Urban Sun Black Voices Book Club this year. And I'm asking that the rest be kept and put towards the capital campaign now that a fund has been established.
I think this is a good way to send a message both to the community and to the foundation of how serious the board is about the capital campaign, that we're willing to forego our normal foundation distribution. That doesn't mean, though, that we will forego the distribution that would normally come from the kind fund. I think we're anticipating that we would still ask for that distribution. But that's a much different amount. And as if you remember, the use of those funds are a bit more restricted. Any questions about this action? Okay, we need a motion to approve.
I'll move.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. Okay, off into policies. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on the circulation policy.
And would you like me to take over?
Yeah.
Sure. So the changes that are recommended are in your packet and are in red. Any questions on the changes? Trying to see if there's anything that really sticks out here. Just some wording changes, I think, to match our procedures, changed curbside delivery to contactless delivery. Under the standard cards, we expanded on expiration, just to make that clear. Especially because cards are not automatically renewed.
Any questions about this policy change? Need a motion to approve?
So
I'll
move.
move. Or
I'll
second.
Go from zero to plentiful. All right. All those in favor of the policies, say aye.
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 And opposed? Thank you. Consideration, discussion, and possible action on the volunteer policy. Swetha?
So a few changes here too, so that we could include the teen volunteer program. And we added some language regarding emergency situations where we may have to limit volunteer activity. And we just highlighted the recognition of volunteers just as something to look at. It used to be that it was an ad hoc committee of library staff and library board. We changed that a couple of policies ago to just be library staff, and just wanted to bring that back to the library board's attention to make sure that was still okay.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. And a second?
Second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? None? Thank you. The final policy, the consideration, discussion, and possible action on the library operations policy.
Or just a couple of semantic changes here. We changed the word building to operational so that it reads operational supervisors, and change of position title name is head of technical services. So wherever it says head of innovation and technical services, it's head of technical services is the title. So just those changes.
Move to support it.
Second.
Thank you. Any additional questions? All those in favor of this policy change, say aye.
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 And opposed? None, thank you. All right. Referrals, Swetha, do you need an official referral based on the action we took to work with South Central or not?
You can give me one, I'll do it anyway.
Okay, well, we don't need it then. I know you're gonna do it. I just wanted to ask.
Yes.
I
but
don't
I'm-
think we have any other referrals from this meeting.
Yeah, but just actually, Rex, I'm glad you brought that up. Just so to clarify, I will give South Central Library System the 3 themes that we want to prioritize. They will send a survey of questions just the questions that fall under those themes for everyone to answer and respond by, so that they can synthesize in time for our next meeting. Would you like South Central to be at the May Library Board meeting?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other business? Any other concerns? All right. Good work tonight.
I have a
Motion to
question,
adjourn.
Rex. Hang on,
Huh?
I have a question about the
Yes.
Library Foundation.
Okay.
It's my understanding that our executive director is moving. And I'm curious to know kind of where we're at with planning for capital campaign now that we have been approved to move forward with schematic design, and how the timeline will match over this year.
Okay, good question. At this point, our president, Tracy Harold, has proposed a timeline to the board, which the board will consider at this month's meeting on whatever the third Thursday of the month is. Basically, what we're looking at is a two-track system. There are things that need to be done within the foundation as an organization that it needs to do some organizational building. So for some time, we're going to continue to work with the current executive director, while at the same time, we'll get a group together to start working on developing a position description and so forth for a full-time executive director, and to try to develop a way of financing that position. Also, in parallel to that, for the capital campaign, we're going to do some research on firms that do that sort of business, guide libraries in capital campaigns. And there are actually a number in this area. For example, Oregon has worked on it, is working on it currently. Wanakee did it. What's the third one, Swetha?
Pittsburgh did, but that was a little while ago.
And there's another one currently doing it. It slips my mind. Anyway, the point is that the foundation will look to work to hire a firm that specializes in capital campaigns to guide us through that whole process. We've always known that there will be a separate capital campaign committee separate from the foundation itself. There will certainly be members of the foundation that are on that committee, but there will be a separate committee that will actually do the work and the guidance of the capital campaign. Does that answer your question?
In some ways, I think I have more understanding foundations, but we can talk more offline.
Oh, okay. Yes, you do. Any other questions? All right. Did we have a motion to adjourn? I got caught up in the question and lost track of the meeting.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, thank you.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Hi.
I'm sure there's no opposition to that. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Did good work. I like the solution that we came up with on dealing with the survey questions. That's a great way to proceed. Appreciate it.